Okay, so welcome everyone. You guys are starting if you want to join. So obviously today's class is in the merit of destroying Amalek in every aspect in the world, in ourselves, and that our soldiers should be protected and the shiurim should be protected and safe, and the borders of our land should be like iron, and should see Mamash Mashiach now. And okay, so last week we went on a long ride talking about how Hashem creates the world, a very simple topic. And so we talked about the idea that when Hashem spoke creation into being, it was a progressive downgrading of his energy to the place where reality as we know it can exist. So we take a very big energy, in very simple terms, the speech of Hashem through the Malchus of Tzilos, and we contract it and contract it, going through all the worlds until it becomes physicality in our world. And we said that process is called Mamale Kol Amin. Hashem fills the world. And this idea of Hashem filling the world means that every single created entity has exactly the amount of light and life force necessary for it to exist in its current form. And this is how we function in the world. We are a reflection of Hashem's Mamale Kol Amin, his light as it's filling me and making me exactly as I am, with all of my quirks and all of my particulars and everything exactly as I am. Okay, simultaneously, there's the energy of God that does not go into any vessels. It's beyond vessels. It's beyond Mamale Kol Amin. It is called Sove Kol Amin. Mamale means to fill, like limaleh. To fill, it fills the world, each thing according to its vessel. And the way that it's filling is that the vessel is the Hebrew letters. Like Hashem spoke the world into being through letters. And these letters hold light. And as the letters become more and more diminished, because this is the process of creation, which is happening simultaneously. Like right now, at every moment, Hashem is speaking these letters into being, and they go through this process of becoming more and more and more diminished through what's called switching, exchanging. I don't know if you guys, I think Rachel spoke to you. She showed you the 231 gates, you know, her amazing wooden thing with all the. So that is how Hashem creates the world, taking this, all of these letters, all of through Puff, and then switching them around in all these different directions and switching out the letters, switching out the energy, so that eventually it comes all the way down into this physical world. And that's why everything has a name, because its name represents its letters and the light force that Hashem is giving it at every moment. And that's called how Hashem fills the world. And this is that each thing is individual and totally unique, because everything has its own name. Even like a snowflake, no two snowflakes are the same, no two raindrops are the same, no two slugs are the same. Every single thing has its own exact DNA connection, like a holding of Hashem's energy. Okay, so, and that process enables us to think that we are independent beings, and that we can go around this world doing everything we do and thinking that we are, you know, independent. I can choose to do whatever I want to do. And that's how Hashem enables us to take that to take place. Simultaneous to that, to be independent entities, that we can think that, like Paro, like I created myself. The denial is mine and I created myself. And this is the idea of klippa. This is what we were talking about. Klippa means I think I'm my own entity. I think I have the power to do whatever I want, whenever I want, however I want, because at the end of the day, it's my power. I'm me because, okay, I'm my own life force. Like that's the ultimate form of klippa. I just think like I exist, as opposed to Hashem is creating me at every moment, and so therefore every single aspect of who I am at every moment is divine energy. Even that, even the parts that are ugly, even everything. It's all divine energy. It's just all concealed in vessels, so it makes it seem like it's independent. Okay? Which is...
That was sort of answer the question, but what was asked, I'm moving my hand. Is it I'm moving my hand? Right? It sort of answers the question. Hashem is my hand. But so the problem of will.
Okay, so the reason why Hashem created it this way is so that we have free will. We have to have free will. And so that's why the concealment has to be 100% locked down. Because there always has to be in our minds a shred of doubt. Because otherwise, if we saw divine energy, we wouldn't have a doubt. We would just be like, obviously I'm being created by Hashem at every moment. Like, obviously I'm going to do whatever he wants because that's my life force. But we have this part of ourselves that's totally locked down and thinks I can do whatever I want. And we all have that part of ourselves. It's like, no, yeah, okay, I'm supposed to follow Hashem, but like there's this part of me that like I'm gonna do it my way, Okay, so that's Klippa. That's the idea of Klippa, is that Hashem's energy, which is creating everything, is concealed, and therefore we could mistakenly think Hashem doesn't create the world at every moment. Simultaneous to that is the energy of Hashem that's called Soviet Kol Almi, which we said Soviet means encompassing, Kol Almi means all the worlds, and this light, this energy, is not able to be received in a vessel. The light is so big and so powerful that there are no vessels that can contain the light. So simultaneously, we have this duality going on. On the one hand, we're completely finite entities. We really are. We are actually finite entities with free will. And on the other hand, we don't exist. Like, this is actually the truth that's going on at every moment. So when we talked about at the beginning of the Myara, where it says here, Rechov Yerushalayim Amalek, the Acharav a day of Ed, and at the beginning is Amalek, and in the end he will be destroyed. Amalek represents this all-encompassing force of Tzfat. Okay, so I just want to there's an idea in Hasidus, everything is Zeh, V'umat Zeh. Everything that's going on this side, the side of holiness, is opposite and equal to the side that's going on the side of Klippa, of negativity. Because in order for God to maintain this absolute, even energy reality going on, everything that's going on in the side of holiness has to have an equal and opposite force in the side of Klippa. Okay? So he says here in the beginning of the Myara, I just wanted to go back because I was thinking about it and it struck me in a different way. He says, Ani Rishon Ani Acharon. Okay, this is how he's talking about Hashem. When he's talking about Klippa, he's talking about Amalek. He says, Reshis Goyim Amalek, the Acharei, Reso Adei Abed. So we have Reshis, Acharis, Reshis, Acharis. Okay? Reshis, Acharis in Klippa, Reshis, Acharis in Kedusha. It has to be even. So what is this? So the Frierdiker Rebbe explains, Ani Rishon is the idea of Soviet Polami. That's what came first, is Hashem's encompassing light. The light that was everywhere, Atmos, Ein Sof, whatever. And from there, he then created the world. Okay, so the second part, the first part is this Soviet Polami, and the second part is Hashem condensed himself into a world. When it comes to Amalek, Amalek is the Reshis. It is the opposite energy of, so to speak, of this idea of Soviet Polami. It's the opposite identity of this we call Macabbi. We talked about this last week. This Macabbi energy that's just everywhere, but not in any vessels. Okay, so this is the difference between good and evil. Good has this Soviet energy, and it also has this ability to enter into vessels. So yeah. Sovev. Kol. Almin. It means the world. Like it's in Aramaic. Almin. It's Aramaic for world. Yes. Sovev, encompassing, but not entering into, like not able to be contracted into anything. It's just pure energy without any bounds. in the world of all the worlds. It's just a term of explaining this type of energy. And this energy does not enter into vessels. This is the key part of it. It doesn't enter into a vessel. Okay? It doesn't, it's the source of everything. That's what it says. It's the source of everything, the source and root of this mamalik kol energy that becomes my sweater. It started as Soviet kol amin. It started as this energy of Hashem that's not able to be bound by anything.
So how come it is?
Because this is the process of creation. And Hashem took his energy and he contracted it, and he contracted it, and he contracted it, and he contracted it, and it's a continual process of contraction until it becomes my sweater. But if we trace the contraction of my sweater back through all of this whole process, it would end up as Soviet kol amin. Okay? Like it's just my perception that I see a sweater. But if I'm God, I see Soviet kol amin. It's all just the energy of Hashem. And this is what this world is about. And what Mashiach is about all of us in this very contracted reality, getting to the place where we can recognize that really it's all this energy of Soviet kol amin that is available to us, even though we're in a vessel. It's the merging. We're not there yet. It's the merging. This is where we're going as a nation. The merging of this light that's everywhere into the vessel of my sweater. Like I will be able to recognize when we have the geula that this sweater is the source of this sweater. I will have a bodily experience that the source of the sweater is Atmas Ein Sof, like the God head, whatever you want to call it. It's not going to be a sweater. It's going to be that I'm going to recognize that this is actually one with Hashem.
How do you know that?
Because this is explained to us in all of our sources of Chassidus and Kabbalah. This is what's called the inner workings of the Torah, the Inner Torah. That's what it's explaining. It's explaining to us when because what is Jewish history? I'll take your question in a second. Jewish history is the process of going from concealment. We don't know any of these things. We know them only based on faith. Faith is not something you can hold on to. It's not a tangible thing. You just know it. You feel it, but you can't grasp it, and it's not, you can't bring it down. It comes, it goes. Taking this faith and bringing it into physical manifestation, which is we will be able to reflect in our physical bodies the truth that God is one. It will be a real, tangible experience. That's Jewish history. Okay, we're like right here. We're like this. For some people, they're living in this space already because the world has become refined enough that now we are able to do this. It's just a very short time ago that this started with the Baal Shem Tov, that he really flipped this whole thing upside down and started teaching us these very deep secrets of the Torah that were not available because there had to be something that was going to affect our consciousness deeply enough that we would actually be able to shift into this new state of consciousness. We weren't, based on the process we were going through, we weren't getting there. So Hashem was like, we got to call it, we're in battle. It says actually the king, when he's in battle, if it's a battle for his life, he'll pull out all the treasures that have been stored for generations by his father, his father, his father, his father, like the deepest gems, and he just takes it all out to win the battle, because it's a battle for existence.
Getting where? Keep jumping in. You say we're getting there.
We're getting to the place where this Soviet kol amin is going to be revealed in physicality.
So it's still in our body.
Yes, we will be us.
We'll have the consciousness that Hashem.
Correct. It's the merging of what seems. It's the merging of what seems beyond something that we believe with faith, that Hashem is one. That's something we believe. We say it every day. Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. We believe it. But to actually be it, that's what geula is. That we have now taken our physical bodies, which seem as far from Hashem as possible, because they're physical, concrete things with blood and whatever, mess, and that this aspect of God, like the truth of God, will become revealed through the physicality. That is geula. That is olam haba. When we talk about olam haba, there's two types of olam haba. There's the olam haba we didn't get to Gola yet, and so when a soul leaves this body, they go into an Olam Haba, and they're receiving what's called the Ziv HaShechina, the ray of the Shechina, but they're not getting the essence of God. They're getting only a reflection. But when we get to the end of the story, Olam Haba, then everyone in a body will be able to hold this revelation, not just of the Ziv, not just of a shine, a ray of Hashem, but actually Hashem's essence. So first, I'm just going to take your question, and then I'll take your question.
What about the bad?
The bad.
No, bad things.
Yes. So that's a very important question. The bad is also part of Hashem. If Hashem is everything, because Ein Od Milvado, there is only God, that means that the evil, and that's what we're talking about, if the evil is so disconnected from its source, even though Hashem is its source, because Hashem is the source of everything, it is so disconnected from its source that it doesn't have any relationship with God. It just thinks, I can do whatever I want. And we're talking about Amalek here, with brazen impunity. I can do whatever I want. There is no God. I'm God, and I can do whatever I want. But that energy is being sustained by God, because God is the energy of all things. And this is where it becomes, this is where it's a very hard discussion, because we say, what, God created evil, and God created all these negative things, and God created October 7th, and the Holocaust. I mean, whatever. We have a gajillion examples, of how we can get upset and not have faith. How could there be a God? But what we're learning in Hasidus is actually, if we recognize that there has to always be an even playing field between good and evil, so that we have free choice as we reach a place of Hashem's greatest light. There has to be a corresponding greatest evil, and that evil is the evil of Amalek. So that's what this mimer is trying to explain to us, is how do we, yes, please.
And what you're teaching is like very, very related. For me, I want to know how does it help me in my testimony?
Well, we didn't get there yet, and that the whole purpose is to get there to understand. No, but the whole purpose is, if you understand the intellectual underpinnings of this, and then you can understand how it's going to affect you. So the process of how the human soul works, the godly soul works, is that when you have intellect, you use your intellect. Your intellect naturally affects your heart. That's just the way that the godly soul works. I mean, there's an architecture of the soul, and it's Chachma, Bina, and Das is your intellectual spheros. And everyone's eyes glaze over when we say Chachma, Bina, and Das. But I'm telling you why it's important, really. Because when you use, what is a sphere? What is Chachma? Chachma is a tool. It's a vessel. And so you're using a vessel, and the godliness comes in, the Torah comes into it, and now your brain, because the Chachma is housed in your physical brain. Now your physical brain is holding God's energy. And from there, it goes into Bina, and your brain starts thinking, what does this mean? I make sense of this, and you analyze it. And from there, it becomes Das. Das means, okay, I can relate to this. And I'm gonna, yes, and it goes into my heart. And then from your heart, you're like, oh, I love God so much. Like, I really love God so much, I gotta do something. I gotta do something. I gotta think now, what am I gonna do to show my love of God? And that's it. So the thing is, the more, and I know it seems like very, the purpose of all this is not so we're like, yes, I can tell you all about it, Seeless. That's so exciting. No, the purpose of this is to say, because I understand that in it, Seeless, Hashem is communicating with me. He's using the tool of Chachma to be able to take something that's so Kolami and out of this world, not relatable to anything at all, and go into my brain, which is a vessel, and then have a relationship with me through my heart. And then I can drink this cup of coffee and I can say, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehakol niyah b'dvaro. Amen. And I can say, because your word, because you're creating through your word. And then this cup it's so powerful because I'm not just saying a bracha because someone told me to say a bracha. I'm saying a bracha because this is Hashem creating the world, and I am relating to this on a emotional level. You see what I'm saying? So I get it. Like, it's annoying because there's so much stigma in the world and there's so much separation with this group and that group, and because this is the lack of unity in Klal Yisrael. But in fact, we all really do need to learn from each other. We all need to make a big vessel where I can say, yes, I understand the way you do it. It makes perfect sense for you, and I laud you, and I want to learn from you. But it's also in the other side, we all have to be able to learn from each other and not shut out this group, that group. I'm not learning from them. I don't want to know about it because Chaval, it's Hashem's Torah. Like, it's no one's better than anybody else. We need the whole vessel to hold the light. And so this is exactly what he's going to say right here. He's going to say, how do we beat Amalek? It's when there's four things. He doesn't say it in his mimer. Yeah, do you want to ask the question?
You said that you're talking about the ones who got you say some people are there already.
Yes, some people are so working on integrating this relationship with God and how he's recreating in every moment. And what does it mean, Soviet? What does it mean, Mamalik? All these concepts that they've thought about them, and they thought about them, and they thought about them, and they thought about them. And whatever they're doing, their consciousness is very expanded. There's people who have a very expanded consciousness, and they are able to be living in like a Geula consciousness. They're not seeing negativity. They're not seeing negativity as something separate from God. They don't see anything separate from God. Everything is unified in oneness. That is a very high level to get to the place where you can say what's going on in those tunnels is not evil. You can say God is there. And I just want to say, I learned the teaching. I know. I'm just saying this is I'm not saying it's not evil. It is evil. I'm not saying it's not evil, but it's God. It's God. It's a unit. God is also there, and we can't separate because our human consciousness, where it is right now, because we can't understand it, we can't say that it's not God. We just can say, I don't understand that it's not God. You know what I'm saying? So wait, hold on one second. So I just want to say one thing about last week's Parsha by Yigash. When Yehuda steps up to the king of Mitzrayim, and he's evil. That king of Mitzrayim, he wants to destroy everything that the Jewish people stand for at that moment. He's gonna get rid of Binyamin, and who knows what he's gonna do. That's Yosef. It looks like Paro. It looks like Paro, but it's Yosef. And Hashem sent him there. It says, Yosef said, you didn't send me, Hashem sent me. Hashem sent him. So I just want to say one thing on this point, which is, I heard this yesterday, and I just want to share it, and then I'll take your question, and then I want to say, what can we do to affect the Amalek that's inside of ourselves and the Amalek in the world? We're not stopping at a theoretical conversation. That's not the point. The point is, how do I have to change? How do I have to modify my own consciousness so that I can be in this? I want to bring the Jewish people all the way into Geula. That's what all of our hearts are all aligned with the same thing. We want Geula, we want Hashem, we want Mashiach, we want it. So there's this way to do it, and there's this way to do it, and there's this way to do it, and I'm just offering a way that I never knew, and I'm just sharing because I think it's very powerful. So that's all. But what I wanted to say was this whole idea about Yehuda stepping up, and Yehuda, and it says that's what a Jew is. A Jew is able to go into the mamale reality, the world reality, and say the world doesn't exist because I'm with God. You see what I'm saying? I'm with God. I'm with God. Even though I'm totally limited, I'm a body, I'm a human person, I have my own experiences, I'm living in my mamalik life, which means I have this hair and this eyes and this birth and this everything, and this is how Hashem created me. Yet, because I'm Yehuda, from Yehuda, there's a part of me that's Soviet Kalami. I am not defined by the limitations of this world. I have a part of me that's Yehuda. I'm Soviet Kalami. I come from a very high level. Nothing can hold me back. So the question is, and how are we aligning ourselves? Are we saying, I'm just going to be a Jew, I live in this place, I do these things, and I'm going to keep Torah mitzvahs? And that's great. Or are we going to say, nothing's going to stand in my way. Nothing is going to stand in my way. And so listen to this. I'll take your question in a minute. Listen to this. So I saw in one of these WhatsApp groups, and Karen, you already heard this, so you do mine. But this woman, Yehudit, was one of the captives who came out in the beginning. And she told a story that she said, she went in there and she said, I am a Jew and I keep the Torah. And so therefore you need to give me kosher food and I need to wash all the tilas yadayim. And they were like, what are you talking about? You're a captive in Gaza in a tunnel. Like, who are you? And she was like, I'm a Jew and you need to give me my kosher food. And guess what? They did. And then listen to this. And she was like, there's running water here. I have to wash my hands before I eat bread. And they were like, what, lady, what is your problem? And they were like, fine, you can wash on the tonight. Then Shabbos came, and listen to this. So then she said it's Shabbos and I can't do X, Y, and Z. No, and they didn't make her. Then they found out she was getting released. And you know what they did? They lit a candle.
No, that was someone else. I heard the story and I heard the candle after this other lady.
Okay, whatever. Whoever it was for, the fact that the captor could light a candle in the tunnels for whoever it was, for the soul of the Jewish person who was in there, is during we learned this during this came out during the Parsha of Vayigash, Yehuda. A Jew stands up and says, even though I am in the dungeon, and even though I'm in these tunnels and there's nothing there for me, I don't care, because I am going to go above nature and I am going to be a Jew.
That's why we say,
Aladeva. Yes.
That's exactly what it is. The bottom line is that in bottom line thinking, it's always.
There's no teva. There's not that there's no teva. There is teva, and there's no teva at the same time. That's the thing. We don't, because there's also a way of thinking that you're like, I'm just going to transcend out of this world. This world doesn't really exist. I'm just going to be holy. I'm just going to go and pray all day and do all these things all day, and I'm just going to transcend out of this world. This world is dirty, and I don't want to be a part of it. But that's not what we're talking about here. We're saying the world itself is the energy of Hashem. And if I use it properly, then even a cup can be elevated to God. You know, not even a Hamas terrorist.
Yes, they're hard.
To the point where they light a candle for a Jew.
Bless you.
Do you have a question?
Maybe.
Okay. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, this is what we're saying here. This is actually the point. Ani Rishon and Ani Acharon. I'm both at the same time. And so this is what we're talking about, the consciousness of Mashiach, this history of the Jewish people, to get to the place where we can stand here and say, in my mundane world, where God seems so far away, I can be a Yehudi, and I can merge.
Leia?
You know what? Can you guys mute yourself here?
It's Rachel. She's not muted.
Oh,
Yeah,
so sorry. So sorry.
Okay. So let's just get to topless now. We all like topless. So in a different mimer, let's just go in here. Okay, let's keep going. Let's go to Piest deceit. If you guys want to read along, we're on page 3 here of this. I don't know what this is good for. Hold on a second.
This is the same thing, I just made a few more copies.
Piest deceit.
But if you see the Hamas correct, and not there's no chance of food, then his Hamas can use the candle, and then
So, remember we learned this last week, that Amalek, that Haman's children learned Torah Barabin, and ended up doing a birurim of Amalek at that time. And the point is, remember we said, if we are in the time of bringing Mashiach in advance, and we didn't get to the end yet. Remember he said there's Ahishana, bringing Mashiach to Ahishana, or Be'ito. If we get to Be'ito, to the end, and Mashiach shows up riding on a donkey, and the end came, that's it, then Amalek cannot be elevated. But during the time of Ahishana, he can be elevated. And so,
Why is that important?
because if Amalek can be elevated, the sparks of his source become transformed for us. They become transformed into light. Otherwise, they just disappear.
Well, they're supposed to be destroyed.
Either they're going to, that's the whole thing here. Either they're going to be destroyed, Lagamre, and we said, Kate Sam Lachoshet, Hashem puts an end to the darkness. So when Hashem puts an end to the darkness, he's going to destroy Amalek. But if Amalek does its own tikkunim, then
bonded for
which Haman did at that time, because his sons learned Torah Barabin, and they elevated all of the Amalek up to that. I mean, they elevated themselves because they were learning Torah Barabin, which is a form of biur, a form of rectification and purification. And so, if that happens, the energy of Amalek, which is, I told you, it's like the opposite of Soviet. It's a very humongously powerful energy. It flips over to light. And we just get more revelation. It's better for us. But that, like we talked about last week, but that doesn't mean we're going to go help Amalek do, tshuva. But this woman, Yehudit, she did have them do tshuva just by standing up and being a Jew. Now, isn't that so interesting? Because there's certain people in our government who are having a hard time with this concept. Yes.
Can you say more about why we're not doing Amalek?
Because it has to come from himself. It has to come from himself. He has to come to the place where he's doing tshuva. It's not, we can't. Because what is Amalek? Amalek is the energy of, like, whatever you say, like, I don't want to hear anything you have to say. They're completely impudent and have chutzpah beyond. Like, you can't have a conversation with that person. Like, there's no rational, that's the other thing. Beyond rationality. There is no conversation. There's no logic. The only way you can affect Amalek is what this woman did, which is to say, I'm a Jew, and you cannot mess with me because I am coming from a place above you.
I really have to get home.
And it's a place of light. You're coming from a place of darkness. And so that's the thing. So this is the question. So why hasn't our government stood up to say, we're Jews, and therefore, the story's finished. Like, that's really what's going to happen. The story will be finished because they will. Right. Okay. But so listen to this though. It's not so simple. And I've been thinking about this a lot because there's a story here for us. There's even a story for us here. The Holy Women of Tzfat. I mean, there is a story. We haven't finished our own work. And the thing is, it's not just Torah and Mitzvah. Because if we think about the idea that we talked about at the beginning of the class, which is Hashem is revealed in me in every aspect of myself, in my thoughts and in my intellect, in my heart, and in my thought, my speech, and my act. All of that is godly. It's just concealed godliness because we're living in the world. So every time in my life that I give energy to that aspect of myself where it's separated from Hashem, I'm not in Geula because I'm still connecting to some separated reality. And it's like a real thing. It's like, how do I eat? How do I deal with my emotions? Why am I getting angry? Why do I get frustrated when my husband doesn't do what I want? Why do I get upset when my kids are, it's because there's a part of
Cheerio.
that is still online, like in a really intense way. And so, and it's not bad.
Bye. Thank you.
We need to, here we go.
Okay, can I ask you?
Oh.
No, I can't hear any of the questions. Could you please repeat the questions kindly? Please.
I want you to repeat the question.
Which questions?
Thank
All
you.
right, as the questions come up, I will repeat them. Yes, thank you. No, so what I'm saying here is it's not bad. When we talk about this idea that there's a part of us that's not given over to God. We were created that way. We were literally created to have a separate reality, because that's the whole idea of Amalek. That's how Hashem created us, to be separate. Our job is to break through the lie of separation and get to wholeness and get to unification. And so every aspect of myself that's not completely rectified, it means that I haven't fully made the Ein Od Milvado reality in myself. Now, it's not a judgment. There's no judgment at all. This is our personal work of being in the world. It's human nature, but the idea is we're not supposed to be satisfied with human nature. We're supposed to be Yehuda and say, okay, yes, my human nature gets, I'll just give an example. Like, I can't take a compliment, okay? I can't take, it's very hard for me. Someone says to me, oh, it was a nice class. I'm like, yeah, Hashem did the class. Like, I can't take it. Thank you so much, Judy. I really enjoyed the letter. There's a part of me. There's a part of me that's like, I'm not worthy of a compliment. Okay, I'm just being honest, because I feel like the more we can make it real, the more it like means something. So I can say I'm not worthy of a compliment. There's a part of me that feels unworthy for the compliment. That's where Hashem is hidden inside of me. It's not bad. It's still in concealment. So instead of my getting upset about the fact that someone told me I can't take a compliment, I'm like, that is valuable information, because now I know that's the separated reality with inside of me that I can fix, because I'm Yehuda, and I can say, okay, I can fix that because Hashem's given me the energy to do it, and that's why it came to me, because that's right now, that's what I have to work on. But it's lovely, it's beautiful, because it's like, wow, I can, like those little squirters that you put the jelly in the donuts, the syringes. I can syringe a little bit more like godly energy into that aspect of myself. I'm just syringing, like, okay, this part needs a little syringe of godliness, and that's it. That's what we're doing to get to the Geula, full-on Geula. What full-on Geula means, I am fully reflecting God through me. There's no more places that need syringing. And that's awesome. And that's what we're doing now. That's what everyone is doing. Everyone's working on healing themselves. And everyone's working on, how do I connect to Hashem more? This is what we're doing. This is the holy women of Tzfat. This is what we're doing. And the holy women of all over the world, everyone's doing this work. But so I'm just saying, why is Amalek? So I want to tell you exactly what he says. These are the things that he says specifically, that how the klippa works inside of us. So first of all, he says here, even though the forces of unholiness are extremely tenacious, they don't want to give up, because if we get rid of them, they're gone. They disappear. They want to suckle off of us. That is where klippa gets its energy, is from us. It sucks off of us. And that's why it says the 365 prohibitions of the Torah are connected to the 365 veins. Because when we cut one of those, it's like we give our life force to klippa. Every time a Jew does a prohibition, we're just feeding klippa. That's how they get their klippa, is from us, Okay, so, but don't worry, like, we don't need everyone to be perfect for this to happen, for us to get to this state of geula. We need enough people. That's all we need, enough people, enough. It could be, to get to this state, who knows? It could be 50 people who are fully given over in every aspect of themselves, and that might be enough to tip it over. I have no idea. I'm just saying, like, we don't know how many. It cannot be. It's not all the Jews. All the Jews don't have to reach this point. We just have to work on loving everyone and working on ourselves. That's the best that we can do. So he says here, knowing what transpires deep in his own soul, every man, every woman can attest to how intensely his evil inclination and animal soul afflicts and oppresses him. Never pausing or ceasing, they confront him with a test at every turn and confuse him with unwholesome thoughts. We all know this. If we're just sitting around, our brains, we're thinking. And if we're not thinking about God, we're thinking all kinds of stuff. Like, right. And a lot of times it's not so nice. Even towards ourselves, even, or especially. Okay, moreover, they incite him to err and stray from one thing to another by means of chicanery and deceit. At times, okay, he gives us, I think, 5 examples. At times they convince him that because of his supposedly high degree of piety and spirituality, it is beneath his dignity to exercise vigilance in order to perform a particular mitzvah in the most scrupulous and beautiful manner, not to do a hidden mitzvah. And rather, they argue that he should utilize his time to engage in Torah study or the performance of some other precept. So, for example, I was just thinking about this. Men also have to prepare for Shabbos. Men also have to do something for Shabbos. But if a man could be like, I'm not sleeping on the floor. I'm not taking up the trash. I have something better to do. I have to learn Torah. But it's like, but that's a mitzvah, and this is a mitzvah. So why are you choosing this mitzvah over that mitzvah? It's because your Yetzer Hara has convinced you that learning Torah is more important than sweeping the floor for Shabbos. But guess what? It's not. It's not. I mean, according to halacha, like you have to do something physical to prepare for Shabbos. And this is where your Yetzer Hara can get the better, not you, because we all take out the trash. But yes.
So are you saying after halacha, that we should be cleaning up, or is the halacha only cleaning up for Shabbat?
Oh, she asked, is the halacha just this halacha here? I was just using an example of Shabbos. No, I mean, the halachas of Shabbos is, I think, I don't know, like a man is supposed to, everyone is supposed to contribute something to the actual physical. It could be they made the challah, it could be they filled up the hot water urn, it could be they swept the, like, whatever, just something.
So, it's a physical action.
I think it's a physical action, a physical action.
Yeah.
A physical
It could
action.
be that person taking a shower for themselves. They can't do it.
Right, yeah, exactly, exactly. Okay, so that's one thing. Another one he says here is, at other times the clipa falsely derides his spiritual efforts. Such a lofty manner of spiritual service. You're so holy. You're too holy. What are you doing? Like, why are you going to the Arizal instead of making dinner? Like, like, I don't know, whatever. Just, you have to use the most expensive olive oil for your Hanukkah menorah. Like, can you use this one? It's a little bit less. Like, you're so holy, you have to use the greatest olive oil. I have no idea, I'm making up an example, but I'm just saying, like, there's ways that our Yetzer Hara comes and tells us, like, chill down, chill out. You don't have to go quite so far and do so much. He's saying that's another example. And he says, it argues it's totally out of character. Who are you to seek such exalted and rarefied forms of divine service? And the clip of all things becomes a defender of truth. Your own clippa is telling you, like, really, you're really that holy. Demanding that everything should be done with uncompromising sincerity, with the intent that the individual will simply stop what they're doing, because you're going to convince yourself, like, you really need to do that, and then you're just like, oh, yeah, forget it, I'm not going to do it. He says all the above arguments illustrate the tenacity of the clippa, and it's particularly active when it comes to confusing the individual through dreams, which result from one's daytime thoughts. So this is another thing. We know that whatever we think during the day is what comes to us in a dream. And so I don't know what he means here exactly, but it also could be that you could also, if you don't have a holy dream, you can also beat yourself up and say, oh, I'm not holy, I'm not good enough to have a holy dream. And then that could also take you to a bad place, and you can start telling yourself, like, I didn't do enough, I'm not good enough, I didn't, even though you might have spent 3 hours learning Torah all day, but you still didn't have a holy dream, does that make you a bad person? Like, I don't know. And he says, here the animal soul marshals all the power at its command to disturb and trouble him. And so too with regard to other mundane matters, which are bodily necessities such as food and drink, the animal soul employs all its guile to convince the individual that the Torah obligates him to indulge, rather than simply to care for the proper maintenance of his health. And that's an example, like, on Shabbos, you're like, oh, it's Shabbos, I can eat happy cake, And he says, moreover, the clipper gives rise to the thought that it doesn't really matter how well he performs God's mitzvahs, as long as he goes through the required motions. So this is another thing where we're like, I'm gonna have kavana. I'm really gonna sit there before I, light the candle. Before I give tzedakah, for example, it's a mitzvah. And we know when you do a mitzvah, if you have kavana in your mitzvah, it makes the mitzvah much more powerful. It gives it like an atomic boost. So normally when you do a mitzvah, it brings down a certain amount of energy, but if you do it with kavana, because a kavana is a mitzvah itself, it has like supercharges the mitzvah, and it's amazing. It like brings much more into the world. But you could be like, I'm gonna stand there in front of the kupa, like everyone's looking at me, I'm gonna be like, like having my kavana before I give my tzedakah, like, I'm not doing that. That's weird. You know what I'm saying? But like that's in my Yetzer Hara, like because if I gave tzedakah with that kavana, it's huge. It makes a huge difference. But because of I'm ashamed, we have busha, all these things are coming from our Yetzer Hara to tell us, don't go all in. Don't go all in. Don't put the syringe in all these places in yourself. Just you're doing fine. You're doing enough. Look. Kavana before giving tzedakah would be by giving this tzedakah with my whole heart. I am using my physical being, my body that's standing right here is at this moment a chariot for God, and I'm taking this money which was earned with the sweat of my brow or my husband or whatever, and all of this physicality is now going to be elevated to you, Hashem. Thank you. Because you just elevated all of that, and you just made, what did you do? You took your body that was just doing whatever, standing there, and now you're connecting your body and all the cells and all the blood that's going through and all the stuff that's happening at that very moment, and you are now connecting that to God. It's the conscious connection of taking your physical reality and saying, I'm a chariot for you in this moment. Right, and that's the thing. You went to a friend's house for lunch, and you're not gonna like sit there and like be in kavana like at the table because like maybe it's weird or you're not comfortable or whatever. If someone's trying to talk to you. These are all the things that we have to realize. These are all the energies that are trying to take us off course, and it's just. I mean, these are silly examples, but we could use the example of just like going about our day. And do you really stop when you make the bracha after the bathroom? Do you actually stop and like realize you're actually making a bracha? You could just be like, Chariot, Saraya, like going, it's like, not that it's not that it's wrong. It's that we miss an opportunity to be fully present. And that's the other thing that when we learn that Hashem is recreating the world at every moment, when we are in that every moment, we're consciously aware that that's what I am. I am being created by Hashem at every moment. Like that's my energy. Otherwise, if I'm not aware of that and I'm just going about my day and doing everything as a human being, which is normal, then I lost the awareness that in that time and space continuum, Hashem was not revealed in that place. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's like, okay, you could go crazy with this, but la'at, we can just, conquer the land. That's what conquering the land of Israel also represents, that we're conquering in our mundane life more for Kedusha, because Eretz Israel represents the Avodas Hashem. And it's not just Avodas Hashem giving the tzedakah, it's the kavana of that I am a chariot for God. That's really what we are as human beings. As Jews, we're Yehudi. And so it's about just a mindset shift, you know what I'm saying? I have more things I want to talk about, but we have to wrap up. But I did want to get more tachlis because I have some, in a mimer that the Rebbe said, I don't remember what year it is, in 1985, he talks about Amalek, and he talks very specifically about how Amalek gets into our kishkas and what it does. And this next little piece here is extremely insightful, and I want to share it with you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, does anyone have any last questions? Okay. Bye, Karen. I don't know how to end the recording.
Excuse me, close the recording.